let's get down to business. Thanks for coming out tonight.
I wrote me a manual, a step-by-step booklet for you to get.
Oh, I make money move.
You can't see me, my time is now.
What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to another episode of the MassiveJoes Show. Fitness times business, episode number 11. I am your host, Joseph Mansell, CEO of MassiveJoes. I'm joined by my disciple.
Disciple. Last week I was a special guest. This week I'm disciple.
I'm going to give you a different title for every episode. MassiveJoes General Manager, Steve Mills. What's happening, man?
Hello.
Mate, we are joined in this episode 11 by, I would go so far as to say, health and fitness royalty.
Come on. You make Stevie feel bad.
Health and fitness royalty, especially in Australia. We have the absolute pleasure of recording this episode 11 with Mr. Nick Jones.
Hey, Joe. Hey, Stevie.
Hello, how are you?
Thank you for having me, boys. I'm good, thanks. Great.
Welcome, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Welcome.
Thank you.
We've been talking about doing this, getting you in on a podcast pretty much since, well, man, last time you were here was like towards the end of last year, right?
Probably 6 months ago. It was, I reckon
Well, there
about
you
6
go.
months ago.
Time flies.
Time flies.
I was going to say like 2 or 3 months.
No.
6 months ago, man, that's crazy. We are, as we do with every podcast, fitness times business, and you guys are in for one hell of a treat with Nick here because he has had a wealth of experience in both areas that we like to address in this podcast, and the fitness side of things through bodybuilding. I don't want to tell too much. I want you to tell the story, Nick.
Yeah, sure.
But
And that's a nice way of saying that you're speaking to an old guy. Been around a long time. This guy's old.
But I do want to contextualize a little bit and say, from the fitness perspective, you've been in the bodybuilding game decades, decades,
yeah.
And made it right to the top of the competitive side of bodybuilding, becoming world champion. And then from the business side of things, I mean, this is where we're gonna go so deep in the business. I love this side. For those of you who are unaware, Nick is the founder and chief executive officer and managing director and just overall boss at Gentech Nutrition. That's right. Which is one of Australia's probably the most premier supplement brand in Australia in terms of the quality of products coming out, the research behind the products.
Thank you. That's a big call.
So on and so forth. And you've been doing that for multiple decades as well.
2 decades.
So
yeah,
I think we do want to touch on fitness first, then we want to go into business, but just as I want you to introduce yourself to the viewers as well.
Sure.
So let's go. Let's
All right.
Mr. Nick Jones, how would you drop some context on the viewers?
All right, let's. How deep do we go? You know me, I can go down the rabbit hole, Joe. I can go down.
We go balls deep.
Who am I? What am I? Who am? They're the ultimate questions. What am I? What's my purpose? Why am I here? No, from a bodybuilding and business perspective, I started training at 15 years of age. Started competing at 19 years of age with Saba here in South Australia. But, I was born in the UK, but came out when I was a baby. So I think 91, was my first show. Saba was the first bodybuilding federation in South Australia, obviously affiliated with NABBA. So I did the Saba Teenage back in 91, won the Teenage Adelaide. 6 months later, did the SA, won that, Teenage. Went to my first Nationals, it was 91. So the NABBA Nationals in 91 was in WA, run by David and Sammy Renouf, who were a husband and wife team at the time. David was a competitor. Amazing show. It was at is it Burwood or Burswood? Burswood Casino in WA. Amazing show. First time I saw Graham Lansfield. He won the Masters. I remember, I'll never forget seeing him backstage, hitting most musculars before he walked on. It was amazing. The level of competition, the amount of competition was awesome or inspiring. And I was inspired actually by the winner of the short class because I was a short ass. Surprisingly, I've always been a short ass. I was never 6 foot and came down to 5'6". So Gary Chernikoff won Class 4 and the overall. Yeah. He was a guy that surfed a lot over there. He didn't go on with it. Apart from he went to the World Championships and got second. So Gary inspired me because he was a short guy and he won the overall. So that's where my bodybuilding started, and I competed year after year. I with NABBA pretty much. I started I went from NABA there to the ANBF, which was the original INBA. Wayne McDonald ran it. So the natural bodybuilding had started here as well in SA. So I'd won the junior and the open at the same contest in the Adelaide Town Hall. I did the Australian Outback Classic, Pro Hard Outback Classic, which was an IFBB show, won the juniors. So it goes way back. Lee Priest guest posed at 17 years of age, and Tonya Knight guest posed. She was awesome. Probably way before your time. You guys are starting to think, this guy, he's an old dude, this guy's old.
This is crazy.
He's old.
I want to just pull something out that you've mentioned already, because something that I didn't mention at the start of this podcast is MassiveJoes. We're based in Adelaide in South Australia.
Yeah.
And we have listeners all over Australia and all over the world. And, you know, you've mentioned Adelaide a couple of times.
Yeah.
A lot of people may not know that, you don't live in Adelaide anymore, but you effectively grew up in Adelaide, right?
I feel very much South Australian.
Yeah.
You know, Sydney is my home. I've got my family, my home is there, my beautiful wife, my business. Sydney's definitely my home now, there's no doubt, but I feel very much South Australian.
Yeah.
I grew up here. And it's funny, I was... I don't know if I can say it. I popped into Riderwear yesterday, and because I knew David Machiavelli when he was a kid. I met him way before he started his business. So I look at him and the success that he's had. I look at you and the success that you've had, and I was talking to someone yesterday about Adelaide, and something that it doesn't surprise me. Many people are surprised at such successful businesses starting in Adelaide.
Yeah.
They're very surprised, but it's such a beautiful little city with not so many distractions as the biggest cities. It allows us to focus on our business or our bodybuilding, whatever it is that we do, without sitting in traffic for 3 hours a day, without the distractions of so much going on. You know, it's a great little city.
Well, from a lot of people, I've heard that if you can make business work in Adelaide, you can make business work anywhere.
I've heard that as well. I still don't really understand that.
I don't
Everyone
understand
says
that either. I'm like, man, that makes no sense.
I find it easy. I found it easy here because our networks happen so quickly. Word of mouth travels so quickly. So I guess if you've got a good reputation, it travels quickly.
I guess it could either be good or bad. It either kill you by the word of mouth.
That's right.
I mean, everyone knows someone who knows someone, and that's the thing. It spreads quickly. Or
it's crazy actually that you brought this up, Nick, because we had one of our sponsored athletes come and visit us the last couple of days. Jackie Watts, WBFF pro. She's from the Central Coast in New South Wales. Yeah. And I
beautiful part of the
world too. Beautiful part. I picked her up from the airport and start chatting and whatnot. And I said, "Have you been to Adelaide before?" She goes, "No, it's the first time to Adelaide, but I know that a lot of health and fitness companies, especially the big ones, Australian ones, come out of Adelaide." And I just started listing them off. I'm like, "Yeah, you've got us, MassiveJoes, TMJ Apparel, you've got Riderwear, you've got Gentech, which is, not based in Adelaide anymore, but definitely a product of Adelaide."
Yeah.
Another one I mentioned was GlamFit Bikinis, which is, probably the premier bikini company in the country, and world renowned as well.
Who runs that?
They run literally just up the road here.
Kidding?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Another Adelaide.
It's funny because I don't buy bikinis, strangely enough. So I don't really know them. I haven't dealt with them.
Yeah, but based here as well. So we do have some pretty successful companies in the health and fitness realm that are based here in Adelaide.
No distractions. We're focused here.
There must be it's either something in the water or it's the lack of distractions. So there's definitely a reason for it.
Yeah.
But circling back,
where did you used to train growing up? Where did you start training?
Oh, I started the first bodybuilding gym I went to. It's a good question. Was Woodlands, which is down the road here on the corner of Crossroads and South Road. Yep. One of the owners now is Joel Ramintis, my Filipino brother, who's a 8-time world natural champion.
Yeah.
But that was a really hardcore bodybuilding gym way back in the day when I was 17 years of age. That was the first bodybuilding gym I trained at. From there, I moved to Queensland as a 21-year-old and really got into my bodybuilding and did the IFBB Mr. Gold Coast in 95. When I moved back to Adelaide, did the SA in 96, I was training at the Olympian 2, owned by Sam Raptopoulos, who is a former IFBB promoter here, Joe. Now, though I know that you're doing it now, the IFBB Pro League. So Sam Raptopoulos was the IFBB guy here.
There you go.
May he rest in peace. He passed away maybe 3 years back. He's only 58. Sam was a wealth of knowledge, and I didn't compete with the IFBB here, but I trained at his gym. And then the Ironworks down at Royal Park opened, and that was hardcore, dude. I remember squatting 5 plates a side on a Saturday down there when it was 40 degrees outside with no aircon in this big shed. It would have been 50 degrees in there.
Yeah.
So I nearly would be passing out squatting down there. It was pretty hardcore.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So I want to just get back to the competing side because it's incredibly interesting, and I kind of know your competing story, but a lot of the listeners and viewers don't.
Sure.
So you started in 91 as a teenager, effectively competing, bodybuilding, doing bunch of shows.
Yeah.
And then so I want to know how you kind of go from that to where you ended up, which was world champion.
Yeah. Good question. I won't make it too long because it's a long, there's a story to every contest as well. There's always something that happens in the prep.
But this is, I don't want you to tell the full story because we have a limited amount of time, Nick, but I do want you to tell the story because times in the competing side of the sport have changed so significantly. You're talking the early 90s and now, we're getting towards 2020 now, and just the mindset of, a lot of competitive-based athletes now, and we see it all the time, Steve, and we've done a bunch of content on it, it's like, I'm going to do my first show, I'm going to turn pro, I'm going to make it to the world stage or Olympia stage or whatever it is, I'm going to become world champion in the period of, like 2 or 3 years. Yeah. That's the expectation.
Yes.
So I do want to hear the condensed version of your story.
Of what it takes.
Yeah.
What it takes, I think with anything, you got to look at a minimum of 10 years. To be successful in business, in bodybuilding, in your sport, whatever your endeavor is, I think 10 years is a good, it's a good mark just to be. It's good to go through the steps, right? Stevie's just got his motorbike license last year, and you go through the steps even with that. You start with a 250, you go to a 5 or a 600 before you start riding the 12. It's just good to go through the steps with everything. There's no shortcuts to success in any field. No such thing. And the experiences you get along the way, they are your wealth. They are the juice. It's not, there's no race. Life is not, and business is not, and the fitness industry, it's not a race. It's not a race. It's a process. And when you sink yourself into the process and immerse yourself in the process of what you're doing, that's the wealth. That's the juice with anything.
The journey, right?
The journey. It's, you hear it. It's an old cliche. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey, not the destination.
We literally mentioned this in the last episode.
But these are old, right? So these are old cliches because they are true.
Like another cliche you said is I don't know exactly the saying, but it's every overnight success has been in business for 10 years, or there's like 10-year pass, or
10 years,
whatever
20
it is.
years,
Every overnight success, there's 10 years of history before that. So.
Of course. It's just a good marker, I think it's, even with relationships, it takes 10 years to really start to get to know someone, really. 10 years is a good mark, So getting back to how did I go from teenage Mr. Adelaide to NABBA world champion, Muscle Mania over a world champion. It was just grinding it out, workout after workout, learning the process, meal after meal, month after month, year after year. So my journey went from Adelaide with the natural federations and with SABA and NABBA. IFBB Gold Coast in 95. I won the middleweights and overall. Again, I wasn't big, but I always had good shape, and I'd always know my condition. I was always prepared to put the work in. I was always prepared to suffer. I knew that was part of it very early on in the piece. You got to put the work in, you got to suffer. And I think you got to be a special type of individual to be able to do that. You need a certain amount of self-discipline. And it becomes very not insular, but it becomes a beautiful journey where you have to look inside yourself and look at your motivations, look at what makes you tick, look at what you're really made of. That's the beautiful thing with bodybuilding. Everyone thinks it's physical, but you learn when you start competing over and above everything else. When you start competing, whether it be competing in weightlifting, competing in powerlifting, competing in bodybuilding, you start to have to look at the mental game. You've got to look at that. And then a lot of the time, as it did with me, bodybuilding becomes a spiritual endeavor as well as the intellectual, mental, and physical. So I had a great career with doing mainly a state show with NABBA on to the nationals, and if you win the nationals, you'd get your travel paid to the NABBA universe. Sure. And at the time, the NABBA Universe was the most prestigious amateur contest in the world, bar none. It was, you know.
Well, it has been forever, right?
It has been, you look at 60-some years.
I mean, we're sitting here, we've got pictures of Arnold, multiple NABBA Mr. Universe. Like the Olympia was created for the past NABBA universes to compete against each other, right?
Pretty much, and that was the path, and that was my path. Was what Arnold had set was you need to win a NABBA universe before you think about becoming an IFBB pro.
Sure.
In my day back then,
that was a big thing even with Jake Nicolopoulos, who sponsored it. Is he wanted to go ahead and win that? Obviously, he's just transferred over to IFBB, but he always wanted to win that NABBA universe because of the past history of NABBA before he went over to IFBB.
It's respect for the process, pretty much. You know,
it says you got the T-shirt. You win that NABBA universe, you've earned the T-shirt. Yeah. You've earned to be on that IFBB pro stage, and you'll be competitive. Yeah. You won't look out of place.
Absolutely.
And so Arnold set that path. You know, Frank Zane did it. All the greats did it in the early days. Yeah. So, Justin Wessels has done it. My fellow Gentech athlete.
Just recently.
Yeah. Justin won the NABBA Universe in the Masters last year, and he's gone over and got his pro card. He's doing his IFBB pro debut at the Arnold coming up. So, that was always my path, was to try and win that NABBA Universe. I did it 5 times. So I got a 6th, 2 fourths, a third, and a second. And the second was a hard one to swallow because I thought I was going to win.
Give me some years here, Nick, because we were from 91 first shows to 95 Gold Coast shows. So where are we talking here?
So 95 the Gold Coast, came back to Adelaide in 96, won the SA, got 3rd at my class at the Nationals. 97, won the SA, went back and won my class at the Nationals in 97. Competed with Justin Wessels, he won the overall. We both went to the NABBA Universe on the Australian team back in 97. It was both of our first Mr. Universe. So that was 1997. I placed 4th in my class. Great experience. If you make the top 6, you do your posing routine, you get on the video. It was a video back then. You get on the video, you do your posing routine, and you get the trophy. Top 6 get the trophy. So my first NABBA Universe was a wonderful experience. I got 4th place. It was at Birmingham. There was probably 1,000 crazy English in the crowd with the air horns, and I wasn't good enough to get any air horns. By the last NABBA Universe, I got the air horns. You know, when you get the air horns from the crowd, you've made it at the NABBA Universe, right? For sure. So it's like you're at this indoor soccer game. The crowd's awesome. And the standard of competition's amazing. So that was 97. I went back, did the same thing in 98, did the same thing in 99. Skipped 2000, so I did the NABBA Worlds in 2000. So the NABBA Worlds were in New Zealand in 2000, and that's where I went and won my class. I won the overall nationals. It was the last nationals for NABBA that Ari Hammerlainen ran. He's now the WBFF promoter and doing an incredible job. Ari's a good mate of mine. So it was the last show that Ari ran with NABBA Australia. Great. I won Class 4 in the overall. Grant Mayo won Class 3, who now, Mayo, what he's done is unbelievable. It boggles my mind. Gary Vandenberg from South Australia was a great bodybuilder. He won Class 2. Brian Anthony won Class 1. And Brian was an IFBB pro who came back to NABBA. And with no disrespect to Brian, he thought he was going to walk in and just take that, and as it happened, he probably would have got last in the overall. It was probably Vandenberg that pushed me for the overall, Mayo, and Brian probably behind that. So, I went to the Worlds. It was a bit of a weaker Worlds because the Europeans wouldn't travel to New Zealand. In saying that, I was good enough to win a Worlds if it was held in Europe. I was just at that standard then. So it's my first World Championship. I wasn't in shape, wasn't in my best shape, didn't enjoy it. That wasn't an enjoyable contest for me, winning the Worlds, to be honest, because I wasn't in my best shape.
I've seen, and if we can find it, I want to put it up on the video now, but I've seen the footage. There was that one year where your condition was so ridiculous that you literally looked like you were see-through. Do you remember that?
90, of course I remember it. 90, of course I do.
Do you remember it for the good reasons? Do you remember how bad you felt to get to that level?
No, I was pretty good. I didn't. It's funny. It was one of those. There's always a bit of magic. There's always a bit of magic behind attaining your best condition. There's always a bit of magic.
Well, that condition was just like...
it was a 99 universe.
Have you seen it?
No, I don't think I have.
Yeah, the NABBA Universe in 99. The 99 Universe it was.
There you go.
And, that was... so that was pre-Gentech. That was... I I'd finished working for Masashi. It was about 10 weeks out of the universe. I was prepping. When I finished with Masashi, I thought, bugger it, I'm going to be a full-time bodybuilder here and prep for this NABBA universe and go win it, right? And because I'd placed 4th in 97, 3rd in 98, so I'm getting ready for 99. I've improved so much. My conditioning's coming in. I'm thinking I'm going over and I'm going to win it. And I was good enough to win it most years. I was good that year. That was 99. So, yeah, it was a bit of magic there. So I went and won the overall Australasian and beat Charlie Duca. Charlie wasn't in shape though, so I never felt like I really beat Charlie because he wasn't at his best. Yeah. He's a 3-time overall NABBA world champion. Yeah. So I beat Charlie in the Nationals and got my trip paid and I did it not easily, but I didn't have any stress. I'd started Gentech, but it was a distribution business. And because I had all the contacts in Adelaide, I went around and dealt with the 11 best retailers, and that was it. So I was only supplying 11 stores. So I was working 4 hours a day, cardio, training, dieting, relaxed, happy. And I pushed myself, no doubt. And yeah, that was the best conditioning, 99. But I got to that universe after being the overall Australian champion. Got backstage when I walked on. It was the best Class 4 lineup ever in the history of the NABBA universe. The way, right? Yeah, it was. I got 4th.
You're like, this is the best package I've ever bought. And then you're backstage and you're looking around. You're like, fuck.
Yeah, I was like, shit. Mike King's there. I met Mike King, and I'd seen Mike King in the 95 video, the VHS. He won Class 4 in 95. So this is 4 years later. He's come back 10 pounds heavier. I'm chatting with him backstage. Great physique. Mike King didn't make the top 6. Fuck. Another guy, Colin Wright, didn't make the top 6. 2 weeks later, both of them turn IFBB Pro, 2 weeks after that NABBA Universe. And as it happened, Colin Wright was in the British Grand Prix with my mate Jarmo Nazar and got 8th behind Nasser El Sombati. He didn't make the top 6 that year, 3 weeks earlier at the NABBA. That's how high the standard was.
Crazy.
I got 4th. I was happy. I was happy. So I win the Worlds in 2000. Didn't enjoy it. Wasn't in shape. I was in the shape of my life in 99. Got 4th. I was over the moon. I was happy.
Man, and I've said this on multiple occasions. I've done some content about this. It's, sometimes. And this is the thing about the sport of bodybuilding, and it really kind of exemplifies the fact that there's so many things outside of your realm of control. Is you can have years, and you will have experienced this, you just touched on it, where you really, you're not at your best. And you win.
Yeah, yes.
And it's kind of like, it's a weird feeling.
It's a weird feeling.
And then you have other years where you're at your best and you don't win. And once again, it's kind of like, it's a weird situation. It's almost like sometimes you'd prefer to be at your best and the competition be that good that you don't win because your self-satisfaction, your self-fulfillment is, far greater than the situation where deep down inside that maybe you cheated on your diet, maybe you missed your cardio for whatever reason, you didn't bring your best possible package and you won. And it's almost like this bittersweet emotion, it's hard to describe.
It is. And that's what it's all about. At the start of the podcast, you said you get these young people that get into the sport and say, how do I get my pro card? I'm doing my first show. And it's all about the achievement and the status, but this sport's not about that.
No.
And unfortunately, if that's your attitude, you will probably end up hating the sport.
100%.
You'll probably end up hating it in 10 years' time, thinking I wasted all that money, all that time, all that effort, and I never became a Mr. Australia, or I never became a pro to put on my social media status and my business card. Wasn't no business cards anymore, but social media status, right? So, but it's a personal endeavour.
That's
and
what you said.
Hobby.
Is each time when you've gone 6th and 4th and 3rd or those placings, and each time you've gotten better and worked on your physique a little bit, is that what we said in recent podcasts? Is each year, even if you're putting on a kilo of lean muscle, in 10 years, that's 10 kilos of lean muscle, which is a massive amount. But people don't see that long distance journey They just see, I want to put on 10 kilos, but I don't see if I just put on a kilo of good quality muscle each year, stay at lean body fat, 10% at 90 kilos compared to 100 kilos at 10% is
massive difference.
Yeah, massive difference.
And let's be honest, a kilo of muscle a year is a big ask.
A big thing, yeah.
In the early days, it's not, but as you get on a little bit, a kilo is a lot of muscle. I look at my natural guys. We were talking about Joel Mintus and Justin Figuera, and these guys might put on 200 grams of muscle a year. Some years they might lose 200 grams of muscle, but be that little bit better condition. But they look better. They look better and better and better. And it's only because they've done the work. There's no shortcut for the work.
Yeah.
The time and the work. I look at Justin Wessels. I'll look at my conditioning in shows coming up. That muscle quality, you cannot shortcut 30 years of consistent training.
No.
You can't shortcut it with drugs. You can't shortcut it with a special diet. You can't shortcut it with a special training program.
Yeah.
There's no shortcut to that.
Yeah.
But getting back to what you said, it is a weird feeling when you're not at your best and you win a show. But when you're at your best and you don't win, and the guys are better, I'm happy, man. That's been my best experiences.
Everything that's within your realm of control, you've done.
You've ticked it. You've ticked the boxes.
That's the awareness and the appreciation of, man. Look, you can't control other people. You can't control the judging on a particular day. You can just everything that was within your realm, you just go ham with as hard as you can. And if you bring everything you can bring, leave it all out on the table.
That's it. You've ticked the box. That's success. Yeah. That is success. And you will enjoy contest day no matter what. Yeah. If you rock up and you are backstage and you know you've done all those things, you're having a good experience.
100%.
And that's what it's all about.
Yeah. All right. So let's get back to 2000 NABBA Worlds.
Yes.
Then what happens?
2000 Worlds, I win my class. Charlie Duca wins class 3 in the overall easily. He was in great shape. And it was funny, I was in a room next to Charlie. We're at the Competitors Hotel.
Yeah.
I was in the room next to Charlie. I'd got up at about 3 a.m. to take a piss, right? My diuretics had kicked in. I'm taking a piss at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
In between the bathrooms, there was a vent. So Charlie's bathroom was just on the other side of the wall. I could hear him splashing in the bath, singing in Maltese, right? At 3 a.m., right? And you know what I thought? Uh-oh, Charlie's in shape.
Yeah.
He's in shape. He's singing in the bath at 3 a.m. He was singing away. Sounded Italian. It was obviously Maltese. Yeah. And I thought, oh, he's in shape. Surely enough, he was in shape and he won the overall easily. So what happens from there, 2001, I've gone back to the NABBA universe. And not in condition again, and not in condition, and I got 6th. And I was so disappointed, so disappointed in my conditioning that my final year at the NABBA Universe 2002, I just put the hammer down. Came in very good condition, but big, dude. I was big. I was my biggest ever. I was 90 kilos on stage. I was big. And I thought I was going to win. I thought I was going to win that one. I could have been a touch harder, but it wouldn't have changed the placing. So Wayne Galash, GMV, Galash Muscle Videos, world-renowned, is also from Adelaide, right?
Okay.
So we were very lucky to have Wayne here. That's why I filmed so many training DVDs and videos. It was because of Wayne, he saw he could pimp me out, make a bit of money out of me. And no, I shouldn't say that because he captured times in my life that are just priceless, and I'm very grateful for that. But he even said to me, he goes, I thought Adelaide was going to have its first Mr. Universe. Yeah. And I thought it was out of me and the Dutch guy. The Dutch guy gets 3rd. And I'm like, because me and him had the good shape. There was a big Italian who had a torn pec and a messy physique, but he was big. They gave it to the Italian. So 2002, that was my last one. That was the last NABBA Universe, 2002. That was it. And something inside of me, I'd put so much into it. I'd been running Gentech for 2 years, so I was working hard, training even harder. I'd been pushing myself so hard for so many years. Yeah. Something inside me knew I had nothing left when I got placed 2nd. Yeah. Sure enough, 3 months later, chronic fatigue syndrome. Yeah. 4 years off.
Funnily enough, 2002 is when, I haven't told you this story, is when I first heard of you.
Right.
So I was only 12 or 13.
Right.
But my year 8 maths teacher, I don't know if you know him, but he was Danny Craig.
Yes, I know Danny. I competed with Danny. Yeah.
So
I knew
Danny
you were going to say that.
was,
Danny.
I don't know, 5. He was Mr. Australia, I believe, or
Did he win his class at the Nationals?
I'm not sure what he did, but anyway, I remember sitting in year 8 maths advanced, because he was a very smart guy. He was my advanced maths teacher in year 8. And he brought in all these bodybuilding pictures, and it was funny because all the class, oh, that's disgusting, and that's gross. I'm like, oh yeah.
You're like,
but then
awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. Then I didn't say anything. But then after the class, I walked up to him and started asking about bodybuilding, and that's sort of what sparked my interest in bodybuilding initially, was through Danny Craig being my year 8 maths teacher. Yeah. And then that's when I started, learning a bit about bodybuilding, and that's when I first heard of you.
Right.
So I was only about 12 or 13, so that was 18 years ago, 17 years ago. So funnily enough, 2002 being your last show was when I first heard of you.
And that's when I competed against Danny.
Yeah.
That's when it was 2002. Jason Bednars did it as well. He competed. I think him and Danny might have been training together, or they were mates.
I think Danny was at a Limbo gym out that way.
Yeah, so, which Jace was training there, I think.
Yeah.
I think they were training a bit together. Yeah. Wow.
So that's 2002, right? So by this time, you start in 91, you're at 2002. That's 12 years inclusive of competing.
Yes.
You know, pretty much year after year after year.
Yeah.
And then chronic fatigue.
Chronic fatigue sets in. And it was the second time I'd had it.
Yep.
Because probably the basis is the glandular fever, the Epstein-Barr virus,
that's where it starts,
which I got when I was 14.
Yep.
But pushing myself, and it was pushing myself to the level. I was training very similar to the Dorian Yates style of training, and I really believe that the current Mr. Olympia influences the training style of that generation of bodybuilders.
Yeah, of course.
So I was training like Dorian, but I trained hard, man. I would train so hard, you know, rain, hail, shine, sick, well, didn't matter if I had a bit of a flu. You know, I'm embarrassed to say it. I would take more ephedrine and drink more coffee and just show myself how hard I could actually train, even though I was sick, you know. So I pushed myself way too hard for too many years and caught up with me. And, I had the chronic fatigue. With that came the depression. It was a really dark, hard time. It was a hard time, Joe. Hard time.
I can imagine, yeah.
And I guess I was forced into, I never retired, but I was forced into not competing.
Yep.
And I think, you know, and I've said this before, I think that any elite athlete, no matter what sports code it's with, who retires from their sport will suffer a bit of depression, will lose their way. But for me, I was forced into not training. I couldn't get out of bed.
No, well, it would have been incredibly polarizing going from, you know, spending the late 90s, the early 2000s on top of the world in terms of the sport.
That's right.
To, you know, here's your wake-up call.
Yeah.
You now are forced to take a step back for 4 years, right?
Yeah. And muscle was just falling off my body and I was sleeping 20 hours a day initially, right, for maybe 6 months. The depression was horrendous and it took, and I kept trying to train. I kept going to the gym, but I'd go there and do 1 or 2 warm-up sets, be exhausted, go home, go to bed. You know, so I kept trying, and until it was just beaten out of me, you know. It was just beaten out of me. Time slowed down so much. It went so dark. But like all, you know, there's so many cliches, you know, around, you know, the darkest time is just before dawn. Behind every dark cloud, there's a silver lining. So the darkest time is before dawn because it allowed me to reinvent myself. It allowed me to work on myself. And I'd done it previously in my late teens. I was very heavily into meditation. I was heavily into yoga. I was into Zen Buddhism. I was into the spiritual work, you know. I was doing a lot of deep work back in my late teens, early 20s. So I was a pretty troubled kid. I nearly went to prison at 18, and it's another story, another long story. So I've had a fair bit of adversity growing up in housing trust and there being drugs and alcohol and violence and so I've had a fair bit of adversity and seen a lot of different walks of life and experienced a lot, I guess. And I think it was a wake-up call for me to realise there's more to me than the size of my biceps. There's more to me than a title of being Mr. Universe or Mr. World or Mr. Jones, you know, that it's, you know, it really forced me to go deeper within myself, reconnect with my source, with my true self, with my spirituality. It forced me to do that, which was a beautiful thing. So I was able to, over that 4 years, I was able to reinvent myself spiritually, physically, intellectually, So it was a dark time, but it was a beautiful time coming out of it.
I can imagine, yeah.
I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. I wouldn't wish upon anyone to have to live with someone with depression. I think maybe living with someone with depression is probably harder than the depression itself. And the depression's hard, let me tell you, but God, it must be horrible to live with someone with depression, because you can't do anything for them. That person feels alone. They feel like no one understands. And unless someone's been through depression, I tell you, they don't understand. They do not. You can't understand something.
You can't possibly understand something you haven't been through.
Experience.
Right?
That's right. You just can't. You know, which is one of the beauties of experience. You know, you can't beat experience. I in Sydney these days, I come across some business people and some really interesting guys in their 50s, and it doesn't really matter about their degrees and so forth, but their experiences. You know, if they're mindful and they've asked a lot of questions and done a lot of stuff. It's just the wealth is amazing.
Yeah.
But I talked about it earlier. Paul Slewinski, again, a world champion that came out of Adelaide. Kickboxer, K1,
sport,
Muay Thai.
Yeah.
So I started strength coaching Paul about 18 months into the chronic fatigue. And when he approached me, I said, mate, I'm not your guy. You know, I'd lost about 20 kilos of muscle. I said, I'm not your guy. And he said, no, I've seen you. And he used to call me Rhino. I've seen you, Rhino. You are big. I want to look big and jacked like that and kill people, you know. He just wanted to walk through. He wanted to look like a beast as well as be one.
Yeah.
So I started strength coaching Paul about 18 months in, 3 times a week. It was killing me. I'd go home and sleep for 16 hours those days, but didn't tell him. But that's what got me some consistency. So it took 18 months to get consistency, just training 3 times a week. Slowly, 4 years later, I've competed at I guest posed here at the Muscle Mania SA. I guest posed here. Went and did the Nationals after that. Won the under 80s and overall at the Nationals, which again, for me winning that title, it was about reclaiming my health. So my happiness and sense of achievement was there, and the joy was there because I didn't think I'd ever be able to compete again. I didn't think I'd ever be able to push my body again. I was so broken. I thought that was it. Bodybuilding's finished. It's finished, you know. So just to be able to get on stage, to prepare for the show and get on stage, that was the win. That was the win,
100%.
That was the win.
That's the reson for doing it, right?
Yeah, it's it. That's the reason.
And so that's like 06?
2006, Muscle Mania. I reinvented as a natural bodybuilder. Reinvented myself.
There you go.
Gone back to my roots.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was a lot smaller, but I still had the shape and the condition. So I did pretty well.
And then since then, nothing, right?
No, not nothing. No, not nothing. Not nothing, no. I went to the World Championships, won the middleweights and overall. At Universal Studios in the Fear Factor. It was the final, the pre-judging was at the Hilton, Universal Walk. The finals were in the Fear Factor building, Joe Rogan show. Right? And I won the middleweights and overall. Amazing experience. On my own, had a backpack and an esky. No Australian team with tracksuits and support.
This is Muscle Mania, right?
Muscle Mania. It was probably the most prestigious.
I reckon we've got that footage as well.
2006, 2006, won the overall World Championships. Great. On my own, backpack esky. And again, it was something I needed to do on my own, and it was an amazing experience. Turned pro with them, did a pro show in 07 in Miami, got 6th out of 12. Everyone's jacked, you know. I don't know what happened with the testing there. But I couldn't see myself. Sticking with the pro division.
I don't think the testing's changed much too. At least
you don't know
in the Musclemania pro division.
No, but it's funny. But they did test at the World Championships the year before that I won because I was the middleweight. The lightweight tested positive and lost his title. So they did. They took urine samples of all the winners, including me, obviously, but he tested positive. So I did their pro division 2007. 2009 were my last string of shows.
Oh, there you go.
So I did the amateur.
Because you know where I'm getting at, right? I'm going in this direction.
And I'll be there. Give me 30 seconds. So what I did was the amateur section at Tony Doherty's Australian Grand Prix. So Kai Green wins the Australian Grand Prix. There was an amateur section or show the same day called the Southern States. So I went and did that.
And this is IFBB now.
This is IFBB. So Mike O'Mara called me and invited me to his invitational in Perth in March 2009. I was living on the Gold Coast at the time. I'd met my beautiful wife, Angela. We were living together on the coast. we're good friends and training at Ari's Empire Fitness Centre there on the coast. And I accepted to do Mike's show. It was $4,000 first place. Like, why wouldn't you? I'd never won any money bodybuilding. And he said, Nick, you'll have a crack at this. It's an invitational. I know you'll have a shot at it. You know, you're coming in condition with your shape.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I'm clean though, Mike. I'm small. And he goes, it doesn't matter. I know your physique. And I said, okay. So I took him up on that. Because I was ready a bit early, I went and did the amateur section at the Australian Pro Grand Prix. I won the under 80s. There was no overall, but I won the under 80s. Week after, I went and did the IFBB Australasian in Sydney. I won the under 80s. Again, there was no overall. Then I went and did Mike's show. Won $4,000. Cheering. Went to Thailand with my wife and spent it all. Had a ball. Singapore, Thailand, we had a great holiday.
Yeah.
So that was the last show, 2009 March.
Yep.
March 2009.
March
show.
2009. And here we are in January 2019.
10 years.
And we're on the cusp of a return to stage, right?
We're on the cusp. We are on the cusp. We are on the cusp. We're at the business end of getting back on stage.
We were just discussing before the podcast. So you're doing IFBB Pro League now, and you're going to do the New South Wales Arnold qualifier.
Yes,
which is in like 4 weeks,
four and a half weeks,
4.5
weeks. Yeah,
and then 3 weeks after that is the Arnold Australia.
The Arnold Australia.
Amazing.
I'm back, baby. I'm back.
There's some people excited about the return, man.
Yeah, really.
About the return. Yeah.
Yes, I better not disappoint.
There's a lot of talk.
Is there?
Absolutely.
Wow, okay.
Absolutely. Especially amongst, like I just love talking about this, Nick, because there's so much history here. Like we're talking, just to put it in perspective, just in case the listeners, the viewers may have missed it, we're talking 91. Yeah. And now we're in 2019. Yeah. So you've been in this sport. This will be your 29th year.
It's nearly 30 years.
Just to like put some numbers behind it.
Dude.
Like this is Dude.
I just
ridiculous.
don't feel that old.
No, and you don't look that old.
Thank you. I was looking for that. I threw the line out for that one. It worked. Thank you.
Faded that one. That was good. Back. No, but there's a lot of people, and this is why the listeners and viewers of this podcast who perhaps haven't heard of you before and now their minds are probably blown. But there's a lot of people, in the industry that are, kind of my age, Steve's age, older, who have respect for the history of bodybuilding in this country, and worldwide, that are like, man, like you don't see athletes of your caliber come back to stage, with 30 years of experience. Like you just don't see it. I didn't think of it it's like exciting. There's a lot of people talking about it.
Wow.
Not to put the pressure on, but
I don't really feel any pressure. I feel more pressure from myself, my personal expectations.
No doubt.
I think that's a big thing I was saying before, especially like with obviously the Facebook generation now. There's a lot of guys like Gretchy, who's running the Pro League in New South Wales, is on their Facebook page especially, there's been a lot of talk about you, and I think your name brought up quite a few times.
The forums.
The forums is everywhere.
Oh, really?
You don't see it.
I don't see it, no. Too busy, man.
I know you don't stay on Facebook. I know you're not on Facebook but that often. But the thing is when is I think those guys who mine and Joe's age, a little bit older, and who are the guys probably competing now who are almost pushing at the IFBB bodybuilding super heavyweights and those kind of guys. Yeah. But they're all the guys that would have looked up to you, especially when they were coming through the ranks, like even when they were 18, or even like guys from a lot of those guys from 35. Yeah. Around that age, but I mean, they're the sort of guys. And I said I knew about you since I was 13, and they would have known about you when they were 18. Yeah. So that's the thing, is now they're 30 and they get to compete in the same show as you. Yeah. And a lot of these guys, like myself, I mean, I obviously haven't seen you compete. So, I mean, even myself, I'm excited to see you compete on stage. Cool. And so I think there's a lot of people that are looking forward to it. So
that's cool. Yeah, I've had a few messages on social media where guys have said, I can't wait to share the stage with you. And, guys that are doing the classic as well. I have had a bit of that. Yeah, it's
like I said at the beginning of the podcast, Nick, you're bodybuilding royalty. I know you'd never admit it because
it's just what I love to do.
Your humility exceeds ego.
But it's a hobby. Yeah,
but at the same time, like you are.
I was pretty good at it. I was pretty good for a few years. I was pretty good at it.
Very, very good.
Yeah,
I'm interested to hear, and this is taken off topic now. But as we said, 29 years since you competed previously. and 10 years was the first time, and 10 years since last time is what's changed the most for you in terms of prep, training, nutrition, anything really? I mean, what have you seen? I mean, because what we've said a lot of the time is people are trying to overcomplicate things, whereas it's the basics that work. It's the basic food, the basic principles. I mean, we've seen a lot of things, if it fits your macros, and keto's now the hot topic, and a lot of those things is from where you started to last time you competed, and especially now coming through it again. Obviously, you're in the industry, but what have you seen the big changes yourself?
Yeah, it's funny. Well, you've just listed a lot of it. I think the basis, as you just said, Steve, is the basics work. So what's changed with my prep now as opposed to 10 years ago is not a hell of a lot, actually. Not a hell of a lot. You know, it's and I think everyone's always just looking for an easier way. I think a lot of prep coaches are looking to push a certain method, which gives their customers a bit more faith in what it is they're doing. And I think I think a method that's good is, slightly restricting your calories below what you're burning and eating adequate amounts of protein for muscle recovery and growth.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? It's profound, Joseph. It's profound, but it has many different names, you see, and many different names of methods. But the extreme stuff, the off-the-wall stuff, it's possibly not going to work. It's going to be hit and miss. It may work, but the basics is what works. So my prep hasn't changed from that perspective. It's the basics that work, and it's the interesting thing for me is, I've still trained consistently. But for the last 4.5 years, I've immersed myself heavily into Arakan martial art. But like 5 days a week, I train Arakan. But I still train with weights 4 days a week, but I've been training 30 to 45 minutes with weights. So it was interesting for me to go, okay, in 19 weeks, what can I do? How can I change my body in 19 weeks? I looked at myself critically, 11 weeks ago and went, you look horrible. To get on stage, you look horrible. For a 47-year-old man that does a lot of Arakan and has 3 children, runs a business, you look pretty good. You look great. You look much better than the normal man, much better than normal dad. But to get on stage and be critiqued, dude, you got to bring up your arms. You got to bring up your upper chest. To be brutally honest, I'm going to expose my weakness here. My weakness is with age, I always had a very good shape and always came in condition and was pretty balanced. A little bit weak in the limbs to be hypercritical. I was a torso bodybuilder. My torso was world class. Yeah. My limbs were just a little bit weak, right? So I'm looking at it going, okay, what's happened with age? Unfortunately, my waist has got a little bit wider. That's my weakness. And it happens with age. My core's strong, man. I do this Arakan, which you generate a lot of power from your core. So okay, can I bring my waist in? I can actually practice this vacuum and get more control, and it actually does work a little bit. So this is something that's changed. I've started working on this vacuum pose. Not that it's going to be a pose for me because I'm not that good at it, but in my front double bicep, my waist looks smaller. Yeah. I've got better control. Yeah. Obviously, for me then, side delts, rear delts, triceps, biceps, upper chest needed to come up to create that illusion of V-taper. My back is a strong body part. It was going to come up. It was going to thicken up and widen up, which it has. Yep. Sort of a body part that doesn't really go, it doesn't leave me. My back's always been a strong point. And then my legs, just training my legs a bit harder again. I knew the sweep would come up again, and it has. So my shape's coming back. So it was, again, it hasn't changed. You look at your weaknesses, you prioritize those weaknesses, and you're like this artist with this block that's a little bit cruder than what it was 10 years ago, and a few different things to look at and work on, which makes it interesting for me. But ultimately, restrict your calories a little, you know.
'Cause with your training, who are you working with your training at the moment?
Well, no one, me. I train with Justin Wessels once a week, sometimes twice, and that's one of the reasons I chose to do the show. Yep. It's a great story for Gentech, and the biggest thing was the personal challenge. And Joel Ramintis put me up to it. Joel Ramintis and Justin Figuera conspired, you see. They got together at Joel's last show in Melbourne last October or whatever it was, and they started talking about me doing the classic. And all of the Gentech team members have been chipping away at me for years to get back on stage, right? But I've been so busy with my business and 3 children and family that it's that's where my priority been. So, training with Justin a couple of times a week, is great. Once or twice a week, we train once and film it. We get some footage for this doco inspired. But yeah, training wise, I mean, Damon Hayhow has the recomp software.
That's what I was getting at. So
yes.
Is that what have you been following that compared to, I mean, because obviously training, for a lot of people that don't know what it is you test out your strength or how many reps you can do at a certain weight.
Yeah.
Then it gives you your possible 1 RM, and then you work with percentages. So
Yes.
that's a lot more high tech than what you would have been doing back in 91.
Yes and no. The principles are exactly the same. This is the thing, and that's why I connected with Damon so many years ago, because I didn't document what I did to the point that Damon does, and that software is such a great tool. The misconception people get is, if you do recomp, you've got to train really, 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 really heavy, really heavy. Well, you don't, but it gives you your numbers, so you can look at beating your numbers, right? Yeah. So again, it's about progressive overload. If you want to build muscle, and I do in my arms, chest, upper chest, delts, back a little bit, quads a little bit, I have to progressively overload with the weights that I'm using. The good thing with the recomp is it's just a platform, it's software where you can document it. You document it. So, but it's always been about progressive overload. Skin folds, I've never really done nine site skin fold test. I have a couple of times, but I'd always just look at my thicker skin folds, which were the lower back, the abs, the glutes and hams, and make sure they're coming down week by week. I've always done that. Checked my body weight. So it's the same principles, right? The diet I used to hand write and work out my macros and calories. But it just makes it a bit easier. The one thing that was a bit of a stumbling block was, and it does make you want to hit bigger numbers, right? Because, I think I did my strength test on squats. I think I did 150 kilos on squats at the start of it, at the very start of my prep, 19 weeks out.
I saw that video.
Yeah, that was a tough set, right?
That was, I saw that video. I was like, fuck, we're going to go train some legs.
Yeah, good.
Let's go.
Good, yeah. And I love training like that, right?
No doubt.
But I actually hurt my back a couple of weeks later. I'm 47 now. So when you're trying to beat your numbers every week, you get to that one really all-out working set, which is the way I always trained. Yeah. You would do one all-out set like Yates did. Yeah. And, you can do 50% of your 1 rep max and try and get 25 reps. Do that weight next week, but get 26. You are growing muscle if you do that. The only thing that overlooks, that's a very linear way to look at overload. It's an easy way to measure. But every week, because I've got so many other stresses, every week I'm not going to beat my numbers. Yeah. Right? So that's overload. That's progressive overload. You can also overload in volume. You can overload in volume, right? So, and where is that relationship with your training between overloading with the weight that you're using for that certain number of reps or overloading in volume? So you might go, that you could, but it's just hard to measure. Let's say, if the following week I did the 150 and I think I did 14 reps at 150 for my strength test. Yeah. If I put the 150 on the next week and got, say, 12 reps maxed out, I'm like, what do you do? Go, oh, shit, that's no good. I've got the bar down. I've gone backwards and I'm not going to build it. No. You can do a couple of force reps. Yep. You can do a drop set. You can do a rest pause. Yep. That's where you employ all of these other techniques to create an overload response. So for me, I do a lot of drop sets now. I do a bit more volume now. And because you can even look at volume within that certain time period, go, okay, well, it takes me an hour to train quads and calves. Last week I lifted 2.65 tonne in that hour. Well, I'll lift 2.85 tonne. But it might be a couple more sets, might be an extra exercise for 4 extra sets within that same time frame. Where does that relationship start and end with overload? And when it comes to volume, if we're doing 30, 40 reps and so forth, it's muscular endurance. We know that that's too high in a rep range to create hypertrophy. But there's a relationship there between the load you're using, the volume you're using in a certain time frame, right? And we've got to use that. I'm 47. I don't want to hurt my back. I don't want to injure myself. So, I don't necessarily have to, say what I do, 150 for 14 reps. I don't have to, by my prep, do 180 for 15 reps. Yeah. I don't have to do that. My legs are getting bigger and they have gotten bigger. I've grown muscle, but because I hurt my back, I've been overloading in volume. Yeah. So, but I'm still using the software, still documenting everything, and I'm on track. Building muscle, losing fat, the holy grail bodybuilding. Building muscle, losing fat.
Man, it's so good. Like the where this discussion is heading is like, it's so good.
Yeah, we could do this for 2 days.
We could. This could be like we could set a podcast world record for the longest podcast ever if we start talking about training principles and techniques and myths and you know, but.
And it is fascinating. It's I still find it fascinating 30 some years later. I still find it fascinating.
Yeah.
It's not boring.
And we are, you know, Nick, I said this off podcast when we started. I said we are going to have to get you back for multiple podcasts so we can really drill down. But we do need to flip the script real quick because we need to touch on business.
Sure.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's you've mentioned it a little bit already. You mentioned, you know, when you started Gentech, you know, before you got your chronic fatigue syndrome, so on and so forth. But I want to hear that side. I want to hear the business side of Nick Jones.
Okay. I mean, I left school at 15. Was politely asked to leave school at 15. I was a bit of a troubled kid, right? So I'm certainly not a scholar, but if it's a topic I'm interested in and passionate about, I'll learn, I'll read, and I'll learn, and I learn well if I'm interested, right? Business, I never did any business study. I wasn't a good businessman, should I say. I wasn't a good businessman. However, I knew nothing else apart from supplements. I'd worked for Masashi for 7.5 years. And I was...
Musashi, just for the listeners, you know, Musashi definitely is not what it used to be.
No.
But when you go back to, you were working for Musashi in the 90s, 1990, mid-1990s, around then.
Yeah, I started working for the Queensland distributor when I moved to Queensland at 21 to the Gold Coast and was training at the bodybuilding gyms and embarked on my next stage of bodybuilding. I worked for the distributor of Masashi.
Yeah.
That was from 93.
Yeah.
And the owner of the company the founder of the company was a fascinating, intelligent man by the name of Tim Horwood. I got an education working at Masashi, let me tell you.
And back then as well, just to contextualize, because Musashi now is kind of a little bit supermarket, a little bit kind of
very much
pharmacy brand.
Yes.
But back then in the 90s, Musashi was the shit.
That was the one.
That was like if you were interested in supplementation to increase performance. And back, just to contextualize a little bit more, back then, supplementation definitely wasn't what it was today. It was very, very niche.
Yes.
You know, not a lot of people understood it. Not a lot of people, you know, it was, to a lot of people, I guess it was kind of snake oil, right?
Yes, yeah, and a lot of it was.
Well, and a lot of it still is.
Yes,
Not much has changed.
That's another podcast.
Back then, in the early 90s, mid 90s, Musashi was cream of the crop.
Oh yeah.
If you were interested in increasing performance, building muscle, changing body composition, Musashi was your go-to.
But even in 2002, 2003, 2012 and 2013, Musashi Bulk was our best-selling product.
Was it really? Well, they were advertising on TV then. Yeah, they had that on TV.
I'm getting pallets and pallets of it in.
Wow.
Especially when I first started.
Yeah.
And just died and...
Things have changed. Yeah. But back when you were with Musashi, they were the shit.
Oh, yeah, because it started in 83. Tim Horwood started it in 83. It was a fascinating story, and I won't give the whole thing, but it was based on the 5 elements. Tim Horwood's mum was a herbalist. Tim was into his martial arts and his weight training. So he developed 5 formulations, amino acid powder. Tasted like dead, dried up fish. Yeah, tasted like shit, let me tell you.
I remember the protein tasted like wet cardboard.
Yeah, well, that was good compared to the original aminos. The original aminos didn't even have the lemon flavour.
Yeah.
But
it's all relative, right?
Right, that was in 83. Yeah. He was doing amino acid powder formulations. You know, for instance, his Chen the Arousal, the pre-workout formula, Chen the Arousal was the green formula. It was arginine, methionine and glycine. They're the 3 amino acids our body uses to synthesize creatine phosphate in the liver. Right? And then arginine, we didn't know arginine back then for nitric oxide, but arginine had been documented for natural growth hormone and it was good documentation. For sleep and growth hormone, for natural creatine production that's what the formulation was for. His Neither Nourishment, his post-workout was the branched chain amino acids in powder form. Phenomenal, beautiful quality. They were mainly sourced from Switzerland. Beautiful quality amino acids, great formulations. because they had the whole range of single amino acids, this is where I got the education. I used to read Dr. Michael Colgan's books from cover to cover.
Yeah.
I used to read amino acid books from cover to cover. I was so ingrained in my bodybuilding and the supplementation and the nutrition and the biochemistry of bodybuilding fascinated me.
Yeah.
That's something, because it's physical, because it's intellectual.
Yeah.
It's that well-rounded. It can be that well-rounded sport. Yeah. This lifestyle that we lead. So I got an education because I was able to use all these singulars in different amounts at different times to possibly stimulate growth hormone, to stimulate the metabolism, to increase dopamine levels when you were dieting, to help burn body fat, to support energy for training, to support muscle recovery. So I went crazy with amino acid supplementation and got an education.
Yeah.
Right. With
And this is,
Masashi.
at this time, you're like what, 20 years old?
21.
21?
Yeah, 21.
Yeah. And this is where you started your education in supplementation,
Very
right?
much so.
Through
Well, I'd started a bit
Musashi.
before. Yeah, I'd started it beforehand,
of
right?
course,
But I'd started reading and using all the subs. But as opposed to Musashi, there was Nutrilife. They had the liver tablets and pretty crude, you know. Their amino acids were just casein tabs.
That's what I'm saying. Musashi was the shit.
That was the shit. There was
then,
Balance. There was Nutrilife. And there was Musashi. I think that was it.
Yeah.
Then Aussie Bodies came along with their WPC. Revolutionary WPC. And it was revolutionary at the time. Had all these growth factors and it was. WPC was revolutionary.
Yeah.
So I've been in this stuff, I guess, a while, you know. So when we look at free-form amino acids in a lot of the supplements now, the free-form amino acids that we use, particularly my P2P product, what's in that? You know, we take it for granted now because there's so much of the stuff. But free-form amino acids are profound, right? The quickest way to get amino acids into the body is a drip, right? So if you could take a drip while you're training, it's a little unhygienic. It's a little bit of get in the way. It wouldn't be that practical when you're training. Of course. But it's the fastest way to get them into your body. The next fastest way is the diantripeptide or free-form amino acids in powder form. Yeah. The next fastest way is you hydrolyze WPIs and your WPIs and WPCs and then
peptide-bound aminos,
yeah,
right?
peptide-bound aminos. So we're looking at, say, chicken or beef is what we used, ate, and eggs. That's what we ate to build muscle. They take 3 hours to digest and start getting amino acids into the bloodstream, 2, 3, 4 hours. So we could take these free-form amino acids, they'd be in the bloodstream in 15 minutes. I mean, that's profound.
Yeah.
To be able to feed your muscles amino acids whilst you train in the most catabolic time of your day, to me, is absolutely profound. Yeah. To mix them with carbohydrates is even more profound because you stimulate that insulin response with the carbs, you know, and you get that shuttling of amino acids into muscle cells whilst you're training. It's a profound thing to be able to do. Yeah. It still boggles my mind. Yet we take it for granted because there's these flavor aminos
it boggles
everywhere.
my mind that there's still heated discussions about it at the moment that amino acids don't work. It's like, come on, man.
Really? Really?
Yes.
The jury's in. There's just too much research. And, you know, without being arrogant.
Nick, the research is always funded by supplement companies. So there's some dodgy shit going on. It's just like, it just blows my mind that like, it's even an argument.
Yeah, there's too much info. There's just too much information now. So back in the day, we would read books by Michael Colgan on what different amino acids did. Yeah. And we would start timing them based on what we were trying to achieve at that point in time, whether it was pre-training, intra-training, post-training, pre-sleep, upon rising, pre-cardio, post-cardio. So we would start using amino acids based on their fundamental functions in the body, right? You just have to look at that and the functions of that amino acids. Even without the research, you look at that and you give it a try. If it makes sense, you give it a try. Yeah. And that was one of the wonderful things with traveling the world with bodybuilding, the information that I would share with particularly the British bodybuilders at the universe. You know, the information was so far ahead. You know, it was really the bodybuilders when it came to body recomposition. It was really the cyclists when it came to performance, endurance as well as sprint. So a very good friend of mine was a performance vet. He used to work with race dogs and race horses, and he was in the AIS cycling team, SASI, here in South Australia. Yep. Obviously, won't mention any names, but he was a very intelligent guy, right? And they used to, you know, use mainline amino acids. They would use the amino acid drips. So they would push the boundaries, you know, and we would push the boundaries when it came to body recomposition. And it was like a brotherhood. And that was that anecdotal evidence and personal experience is really what I used to develop the Gentech products and formulations.
Okay.
That's really what I used.
Yeah.
Now, without sounding arrogant, the research, when you look at the good research, and again, I'm not a specialist at looking at research. I'm not a specialist at that. I've got a guy, Dana Vizovic, our biochemist. He's a specialist at that. And he said, you know, out of all the research, 60% of the research is rubbish. Throw it in the bin. I said, is that it? And he goes, I'm being generous. So that 40% that's left over, you probably throw half of that in the bin. So some of these guys are right. There's a lot of rubbish research out there, but there's a lot of very good research. And it always aligns with the anecdotal evidence and the experience that elite level bodybuilders and strength training athletes have come to find and been using in our protocols over the last 30 to 40 years.
Of course, right? Because, you know, if it's not for the anecdote, what's the point of doing the research in the first place?
Yeah,
That's how research comes about.
Yeah.
Somebody tries something, they go, oh shit, this feels like it's doing this. Maybe let's dig a little bit deeper and see if it actually is.
And that's good research.
Of course, but if you don't have that initial anecdotal response, there's no point to do the research. So the whole argument against it is just completely convoluted.
Yeah.
It's like, well, fucking, you know, how are you going to decide what to go and actually study, what to actually go and spend money looking at, what to go and spend money researching? It always starts with anecdote.
Has to. Good research has to.
Has to.
Because it wasn't like, you know, all this research was done and then we started weight training based on the research.
It doesn't work the other way.
Milo of Croton discovered progressive overload 6th century BC.
Yeah.
Milo, he was a Greek Roman wrestler.
Yeah.
What's Christos? He won't even know this guy. Wasn't really into Tsitsipas is doing some amazing things at the Australian Open. He was, whatever. So Milo's his guy as well. So Milo, 6th century BC, was lifting his baby calf for his training. He was a Greco-Roman wrestler. Probably back when the Greek men used to wrestle naked, but we won't go into that. God bless them. No women allowed. But he'd lift his baby calf for training, and as the calf got bigger, Milo got bigger. Yeah. That's where progressive overload came. 6th century BC. Yeah. And we're still studying it to this day.
Yeah. I want to come back. Let's go back to the business journey. So 93, working for Musashi, you've kind of touched on that was really your, you know, education, I guess.
Yes.
And then so Gentech comes along, your own supplement company.
Yes.
Late 90s?
Yes.
Okay.
99. I was preparing for that NABA universe in 99. Yep. Had a blow up with Tim, the boss. He had a blow up with me. We both told each other where to go. Hung up the phone.
It happens, right, Nick?
It happens. That one was a beauty. It happens, but we didn't get past it. We didn't get past that one. A lot of respect there, though. Hell of a lot of respect for Tim Ward. Amazing man. I started as a distribution business out of my shed in can't even remember the suburb. It was the top of Crossroads there, Myrtle Bank or something.
Here in Adelaide.
I filled up my garage with ProLab and Designer Way. There was an importer into Australia. Called him and I said, I'll do SA for you.
Yeah.
So I started with $10,000. I bought 10 grand's worth of Designer Way and ProLab, filled up my garage and went around to my 11 retailers that I had a good relationship with that did 80% of the business in South Australia. So that the old 80-20 Pareto's law, you know, 80% of the business and turnover was done by 20% of the stores. So I just wanted to deal with those 20. It was low stress, had a good relationship with them. I was able to train, diet, and work 4 hours a day and distribute these products. And Designer Way was the first good tasting protein powder in the world back then. So that was 99. It was beautiful tasting. So that's what I did. And as I could afford to, I think it was May 2000, I brought out Gentech creatine and glutamine. So as I could afford to, I would start releasing the Gentech products slowly. Creatine and glutamine. Next came the pure carbs. You know, for a couple of reasons. One was the endurance athletes, but the other was that creating that anabolic drive post-workout. The other was to mix it intra-workout with my creatine and glutamine. And I was sourcing some branch chains as well in bulk. I used the pure carbs then. I had to sell my Ducati to do the first protein powder. That killed me. It didn't kill me, actually, because I was really driven to make Gentech a success.
You actually mentioned that in episode 10 when we were talking about going on a business journey. You were like, you might have to sell some shit.
Yeah, it's true, Stevie.
I think you actually mentioned selling a motorbike, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. That's the thing, though, is a lot of people will see Gentech now and they'll see the Alka-Fuel and all those lines that we didn't have, PTP, all those kind of lines that obviously around now, but they didn't see that you started with just 2 products and year by year you've brought out new products. you didn't have 15 different SKUs back then or 15 different product lines. You had those two, two bare minimums, and then pure carbs, and then you've just grown as you get more money and funded it. And that's what we said last about businesses trying to grow too quickly. Not having the capital and then going out of business because they've got no backing behind them. They've tried to spend all their money and go mainstream, go too big too quickly and not build it up. So
it's interesting. It's one of those things we touched on earlier was it's a good thing to go through the steps. Yes. It's a good thing to go through the steps. It's a good thing to go through the struggle. That's where you learn. That's what creates
the other thing
growth.
as well is you were in the industry before you did that.
Yes.
So you knew what happened. There's a lot of things that we've spoken about previously is people who aren't necessarily in the industry with an outsider's point of view, they think, I'm going to have my own pre-workout. It's going to be awesome. But they don't know. They don't have the knowledge of the ingredients or synergistically working ingredients. They don't know where to source them. They don't have any of those business relationships. Or I've got a product like you did. I mean, you could have imported those 2 brands of protein. Now what do I do? But you already had that relationship beforehand, built before you went out and. You would be stupid just to get...
But this is part of the timeline, right? So before you even started Gentech, you were working in the industry for 6-7 years.
I had a good handle on it,
right?
Pretty good.
That's what I'm saying.
With at the same time, building up the industry experience, building the relationships, and then educating yourself on the actual products, as well. So you effectively, you went to supplement university, pretty much, for like 6 or 7 years,
sure.
Before you even got to the stage where you were like, for whatever reason, I'm going to go and do my own thing. And then that's really when the journey started. So it's almost like the pre-journey was a 6 to 7 year pre-journey. Yeah. And then you got, in 99, 2000, and then you started from there with
and there were a lot of lessons. And there were a lot of lessons along the way.
Of course.
Big difference working for someone to running your own business and putting your money up front. And taking the risks yourself. But I don't understand someone that would go into an industry and start a business in the industry that know nothing about it. Like for me to, I eat a bit of food, but I don't know how to run a restaurant. I'm not going to go start a restaurant. You hear it's an old cliche with business is stay in your lane, do what you know. And something else I hear is don't put all your eggs in one basket. But for me, I do. I do because I can't. It's for me. If I've tried to run 2 businesses before. For me, it's like chasing 2 chooks. If you're trying to chase 2 chooks at the same time, I don't reckon you catch either. But if you're chasing one, I need focus. I need focus. If I'm trying to catch one, I'll start to learn its movements. I'll wear it down. I'll corner it. I'll catch it.
Have you heard the saying "burn your boats"?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite
That's how you take the island.
Right?
That's how you take the island.
That's how you take it. You can't have. Well, in my personal opinion, and you obviously agree, is put all your eggs in one basket. Yeah. Because if they're in there, you're gonna make that fucking basket work. Right?
You have to. You got to.
You got 2 or 3 or 4 different baskets. If that one doesn't work, I'll just focus on this one. Yeah. Nah, man, throw them all in there, burn the boats, and
I agree. 100%. 100%. Yeah. And these days, everything is so competitive. You focus. You need focus. We need focus.
So 2000, start with the creatine glutamine, add the pure carbs, and now we're running very short on time. You're a very busy man, so we're going to have to really condense this and come back at another time and break it down. But now we're in 2019. So just, paint a little bit of a picture. You've gone from starting off with a couple of products to how many different SKUs now?
I can't count that high. I'm a bodybuilder. I get a bit hazy over 10.
But you do everything, right?
Well,
you do everything.
The thing is,
we cover every category.
I mean, when I said 15, that was probably just the bare products. But then you've got all your essentials as well.
All the singulars, the nutraceuticals line.
Which is about another 15, 20 products in its own. So,
the only thing we don't do is a plant-based protein. I mean, I've got my Macro Pro 7.
I wouldn't do it either.
No. They don't work. They don't work for muscle recovery. I can't. Again, it's not what I know, and I can't endorse. I don't use it. I use all. I use all of my products. All of them. I use all my products still. I use them all. Guys like Justin Wessels, and it's not a plug for Gentech. Guys like Justin Wessels, we use a lot of supplements. Consistently. In a very intelligent approach with fairly specific protocols. that have come about over many, many years of experience and anecdotal evidence, and research now supports what we've been doing.
Yeah.
So it's we've got a lot of products now. But looking at it, it's been nearly 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's been nearly 20 years I've been doing this.
Yeah.
20 years. Yeah. So, and again, slowly, and we, talked about growing too quickly in the capital to grow so quickly. I've always been self-funded. So I still bring out new products and bring out new flavors and evolve the range and the brand as I can afford to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And I've got a family. I've got 3 children. I've got a mortgage. I've got a beautiful wife who's a full-time mum. This shit's real now.
Yeah.
This
Absolutely.
is, I got to make this, this basket is my focus and it has to work. And, for me, it's a funny thing because I've backed myself into a corner where Gentech, I build high quality products using high quality ingredients in Australia, which is expensive to manufacture here, but my quality control is so high because I manufacture here. I source all my raw materials and send them to my contract manufacturer, so I have complete quality control. Because of that, there's not a lot of margin in the product. So it's not, so anyone that's using Gentech, don't ever think I'm on the get rich quick scheme, because I'm not, and I can't bring out overly hyped, poor quality products. I can't. I wouldn't use them, number one.
Yeah.
I couldn't put my name on them, number 2. If you see me do a second brand, a sister brand, be cheap shit, right? Which I won't do because it'll still be me that's endorsing it. I can't, I've backed myself into a corner where I have to continue to put out the high quality products that work. I have to. Downside is, there's not much margin in that these days. It's not a lot of margin because of the quality that we manufacture in Australia.
Yeah.
So I always do it the hard way. I always do it the hard way.
But it's, it comes down to your intentions and where you're coming from as well. And there's
integrity,
there's not a lot of companies left that do what Gentech does
it's hard to make money, Joe.
Well, in terms of, firstly, the motivation behind doing products is selfish. Primarily, it's like you want to make products that you're going to use.
Yes,
that's the first point. Is that the second point is, a brand that the brand is primarily concerned with quality.
Yes.
And that is kind of weaved through the fabric of Gentech, right from, where the products start to, your own internal quality control to the athletes you have endorsing the brand, all top level, professional world-class athletes.
Yes.
Everything kind of weaves in. Like, you just don't see that in this industry anymore. And then the fact that you're still in Australia, doing what you're doing in Australia, and then the fact that you're still privately owned.
Yeah.
There's just not a lot of you guys left.
No, there's not. There's really not. It's changed so much.
Yeah.
It's changed so much.
Yeah.
And it's hard to compete. So I run my business on a shoestring budget, on the sniff of an oily rag. Everyone believes Gentech is bigger than it is. In saying that, we've got good shelf space in all the major retailers across this country.
You guys are you're national, right?
Yeah, very much so.
You go into a supplement store anywhere in Australia, you're going to get some Gentech.
Yeah, you'll see Gentech. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But I don't have a lot of staffing overheads. I work my ass off still. Yeah. I work my ass off still.
Yeah.
Because I have to.
Yeah.
But it's good for me too. It's good for me.
You wouldn't have it any other
way.
I wouldn't. It's good for me.
That's one thing though is
good for me.
People like myself enjoy. I'd rather work with you, and that's why I hop on the phone to you and we make deals and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I hate dealing with reps.
Yeah.
I hate dealing with reps, and I've made a blanket rule. I just don't deal with reps now.
Yeah, really. You're not the only one, Stevie.
Yeah. And I hate going to a rep. I hate going to a rep and like, oh, can we get this at this price, or can we get 100 t-shirts? I'll just go check with Nick.
I'll get back to you.
Fuck, I already Nick myself.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
that's the point.
I think that's better for business is you doing all that. Obviously, it's a lot more hours in your day and a lot more effort. That's the thing. I mean, you could very easily is sit there and hire a state rep and all those kind of things, but it's just that management that you've got. So
It's important.
Gents, we have to wrap this up.
I know.
I don't want to, but you're running like half an hour late now, Nick. So
I know.
It was like, I have to be done by this time. It's like, no, that wasn't going to happen.
I wasn't.
Look, Nick, Man, thank you so much for your, coming on the show and giving us a little bit of an insight to there's so much goodness, man. I'm just like, shit.
Yeah, no, thanks.
We're definitely going to have to get you back.
Yeah, we can do post-contest, right? We can do. We're 7.5 weeks out of the Arnold.
If you want, but there's so many things that we just touched the surface of. The actual nitty-gritty training stuff. I'd love to really go deep in that. The business, we really just scoured the surface.
I didn't even touch business.
You 20 years experience in this game is a lifetime in the supplement industry, and I really want to get deeper into that. But
cool.
That's all we have time for.
Yeah, I know. And then I can talk about family and how to juggle it all.
Everything, man.
Which I'm still trying to work that one out, to be honest. But it's
But just so the viewers and the listeners, give yourself a little bit of a plug. Where can they find you? Where can they connect? Obviously, Gentech is your supplement company.
Yes.
That goes without saying.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
You personally?
Well, I mean, we don't sell online direct. We sell through retailers like MassiveJoes.
Yeah.
And the quality retailers. I don't supply Dodgy Brothers discounts on the corner. So the integrity of my brand is crucial and it needs to be represented well. So you can find me personally. I'm a bit slack on the social media personally. I do a little bit.
Oh, now you got to step it up.
I got to step it up. So Nick Jones,
you're going to get an influx of followers.
I know. Wow, guys, come and see me then. Come and see me and interact. Thank you very much. I've got lots of time for social media. Let me tell you, I just sit around waiting for that thing to be twiddling my thumbs. But Nick Jones World Champion is my Instagram.
Yep.
My Facebook, I think, is something like Nick Jones. I'm not quite sure. I just share everything from Instagram to Facebook.
You won't get a reply on Facebook. I remember when I hit him up once and it took for a few months for an October special and he hit me back in December.
Message. Yeah, sorry, dude. Still waiting. Sorry, dude. I'm going to get your mobile number. I don't have your mobile number because I do texts and phone calls still and emails. Nick Jones World Champion, Facebook. I'm terrible on Messenger. And then Gentech, I'm pretty involved in the Gentech social media actually. So we've got Facebook, we've got Instagram. Our YouTube channel is getting pretty cool. It's pretty loaded with content.
Yeah.
And we're filming this documentary called Inspired. It's myself and Justin Wessel's journey to the Arnold Classic. So episode 1's been done. Episode 2's being edited this week. So that'll be about a week away because Justin's doing some footage on Friday at work.
Yeah.
And work for Justin is he's an aviation firefighter at Sydney Airport. So they're going to do some cool stuff at the station this week. So I think by the end of next week, we'll have episode 2 out. So check out the YouTube channel, Gentech YouTube. And with the training staff, there's so much training content from a lot of our world champion athletes on our YouTube channel. So check that out, guys, if you want some help with your training.
There's also a lot more in-depth supplement info on there as well.
Sure, yeah.
So you go very deep into how P2P works and how all those ingredients and how why they're made, which is very interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we listened to Nick's voice for about 6 months in the old HQ. Remember that? That was nearly 12 months.
Right.
Cool. Yeah, I had a P2P.
Yeah. Absolutely. Guys, as always, if you have enjoyed listening to this podcast, watching this podcast, make sure you share it. Share it with your best mate, your brother, your sister, your mum, whoever you want to share it with in person. Tell them about it. Make sure they listen. Share it in your socials as well. Instagram story has been great for us recently. Sharing a screenshot of the podcast, tagging MassiveJoes, tagging Neve Movement, tagging myself, Joseph Mansell, tagging. Make sure if it's this episode, it's Nick Jones World Champion as well and Gentech Nutrition. Nick, thank you, man.
Oh, my pleasure, boys. Thanks for having me. My pleasure.
Until next time, where we coming to and from, Neve?
MassiveJoes.com.
Stay massive. Thank you for listening to this episode of The MassiveJoes Show. Make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform, whether it be SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Podbean, Stitcher, or TuneIn. And if you enjoyed listening to this episode of The MassiveJoes Show, ensure that you give us a 5-star rating on your favorite podcasting platform. Until next time, we're coming to you from MassiveJoes.com. Stay massive.